Before we begin, if you enjoy World Cup content like this, make sure to like the video, subscribe to LSRA10 if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our World Cup coverage. It really helps the channel. Now let's get into it. Forget tactics for just a second. Forget form. Forget rankings. Because if Portugal lose this game, we could be watching the final World Cup match of Cristiano Ronaldo's career. That's what makes this round of 16 tie feel different. Yes, it's Spain versus Portugal, one of football's oldest and fiercest rivalries, the Iberian derby. But for millions of fans around the world, this is also about one question: can Cristiano Ronaldo keep the dream alive one more time? Standing in his way is probably the most complete team in this tournament so far. Spain haven't just been winning, they haven't conceded a single goal. So is Ronaldo about to produce another one unforgettable World Cup moment, or is Spain simply too strong? Let's talk about it. Whenever Spain and Portugal meet, it never feels like an ordinary football match. These two nations have shared a football rivalry for more than a century. Over the years, we have seen World Cup meetings, European Championships, Nation League clashes, and countless friendlies. Some have been tactical chess matches, some have been unforgettable classics. Think back to the 2018 World Cup: Spain 3, Portugal 3. Cristiano Ronaldo scored a hat trick and produced one of the greatest individual performances in World Cup history. Then go back even further: 2010, round of 16. Spain beat Portugal 1-0 before eventually lifting their first ever World Cup trophy. Even last year, these two teams met in the Nations League final. Portugal came back to draw 2-2 before winning on penalties, with Ronaldo once again finding the net. So history tells us one thing: when Spain and Portugal meet, something memorable usually happens. Let's start with Spain, because honestly, they have looked incredibly impressive. The funny thing is, people weren't saying this after the group stage. Spain were winning games, but there was still the feeling that they hadn't quite reached their top gear. The attack wasn't as fluid as everyone expected. There were moments where they looked like a little predictable. Then came Austria. Suddenly, everything just clicked. Spain won 3-0, and if you're being honest, it possibly could have been even more. That performance felt like a warning to the rest of the tournament. The attack finally looked sharp. The moment was quicker. The combinations were cleaner, and perhaps most importantly, they looked ruthless. Mikel Oyarzabal scored twice and suddenly finds himself right in the conversation for the Golden Boot. But despite all of that, I still think the biggest story about Spain isn't their attack. It's their defense. 4 matches, 4 clean sheets, 0 goals conceded. Just think about that for a second. At a World Cup where almost every top team has had at least one shaky defensive moment, Spain simply haven't. They have looked organized, calm, patient. They rarely panic. They don't give opponents many clear opportunities. And even when teams have tried to counter-attack quickly, Spain have usually dealt with it comfortably. That defensive consistency is probably the biggest reason why so many people now see them as genuine favorites for the trophy. Because tournaments are often won by teams that know how to defend first. And then there's Lamine Yamal. It feels like every time Spain play, he becomes an even bigger talking point. What makes him so dangerous isn't just his dribbling, it's his confidence. He wants the ball, he wants to take players on, he isn't afraid of the occasion. After beating Austria, he summed up Spain's mentality perfectly. He basically said that they still have room to improve, but they fear nobody. That's exactly how Spain are playing: confident and aggressive, but still believing their best football is ahead of them. Now let's switch over to Portugal, because although Spain come into this match as favourites, writing off Portugal would be incredibly dangerous. The round of 32 game against Croatia showed exactly why. Portugal went behind. Many teams would have panicked. Instead, they stayed calm. Cristiano Ronaldo stepped up and converted a penalty to bring them level. Then, right at the death, Gonzalo Ramos scored the winner. It wasn't comfortable, it wasn't spectacular, but it showed resilience. Knockout football is rarely about playing beautiful for 90 minutes. Sometimes it's simply about surviving. Portugal survived. But here's where things get interesting. If you watch that Croatia game carefully, you'll probably agree that Portugal didn't actually create a large number of clear chances from open play. They relied on moments: the penalty, the late winner. Against Spain, moments might not be enough, because Spain simply don't give away many. If Portugal want to reach the quarterfinals, they'll probably need to produce one of the best attacking performances of the entire tournament. Defensively, Portugal's numbers also look very good. Only 2 goals conceded in 4 matches, but I don't think those numbers tell the whole story. There have been moments where opponents have managed to get into dangerous positions. Portugal escaped those situations, but against Spain, escaping repeatedly becomes much harder because Spain don't usually waste opportunities. And that's really where this game could be decided. Spain don't just attack well, they control football matches. Their midfield keeps possession. They slow the game down when needed. They speed it up when they see space. They are very comfortable making opponents chase the ball. Portugal, on the other hand, are often happier playing in moments. One transition, one piece of brilliance, one Ronaldo finish, one Gonzalo Ramos run, and that's why this feels like such a fascinating contest. Control versus moments, patience versus explosiveness. Of course, whenever Portugal play, the conversation always comes down to one man, Cristiano Ronaldo. At this stage of his career, every major tournament feels like it could be his last. If Portugal lose here, this could genuinely be his final World Cup appearance. Just think about that. One of the greatest football players the world has ever seen. A career spanning more than 2 decades. 5 World Cups before this one. Hundreds of international appearances. And now possibly 90 minutes away from saying goodbye to the biggest tournament in football. That's why this game carries so much emotion. The interesting thing is that Ronaldo finally broke another personal barrier against Croatia. His penalty wasn't just another goal, it was his first ever goal in the knockout stages of a World Cup. For someone who's achieved almost everything in football, that's quite remarkable. Now he'll be hoping it wasn't his last. The problem is Spain probably represent the toughest opponent possible. Not because they have big stars, not because they score the most goals, but because they make life incredibly difficult for everyone. They defend as a team, they attack as a team, they stay organized, they don't lose their shape easily. Against a side like that, individual brilliance alone often isn't enough. One thing I also find really interesting is momentum. Spain seem to be getting stronger with every match. Portugal are finding ways to win. Both are positive trends, but they feel slightly different. Spain's performances are improving. Portugal's character is improving. If this becomes a football match decided by quality over 90 minutes, I'd probably lean towards Spain. But if it becomes emotional, chaotic, and full of moments, Portugal has a chance. Let's also remember that Portugal have beaten Spain recently. The Nations League final proved that they can compete. That should give them confidence. But tournament football is different. The pressure is different. The margin for error is much smaller. One mistake could decide everything. So who are the players who could define this game? For Spain, it's Mikel Oyarzabal, who arrives in fantastic goal-scoring form. Lamine Yamal has the ability to change games on his own. And perhaps the biggest strength isn't even an individual, it's the collective. Spain simply functions brilliantly as a unit. For Portugal, everything naturally starts with Cristiano Ronaldo. Can he produce another iconic World Cup performance? Gonzalo Ramos showed against Croatia that he can be the hero. And Portugal will almost certainly need several players to step up if they're going to eliminate Spain. So, how do I see this match playing out? Honestly, I don't think it'll be comfortable for either team. This is a rivalry. It's knockout football. There's simply too much quality on both sides for this to be easy. Portugal will have moments. Ronaldo will probably get chances. The crowd will be behind the spectacle. And for large parts of this game, I think it'll be incredibly tense. But when I look at everything we have seen so far in this tournament, one thing stands out above everything else. Spain just look like the more complete football team. Their defense has been exceptional. Their attack finally found another level against Austria. They are confident, they are organized, and perhaps most importantly, they seem to be improving exactly when knockout football demands it. Portugal absolutely have the players to make this difficult. They obviously have the experience, and with Cristiano Ronaldo, you can never rule them out completely. But over 90 minutes, I just think Spain edge it. Not because Portugal play badly, but simply because Spain have looked like the stronger team throughout this entire tournament. So my prediction is Spain 2, Portugal 1. A dramatic game, a worthy Iberian derby, and unfortunately, what could be the final World Cup match of Cristiano Ronaldo's incredible career. But that's just my opinion. What do you think? Does Ronaldo have one more magical World Cup night left in him? Or will Spain prove why so many people have seen them favorites for the trophy for so long? Let me know your predictions in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to LSR10, and I'll see you in the future with another World Cup preview. Bye bye.